I'd like to welcome everybody to the June 25th meeting of the New Bern Board of Aldermen. Tonight the prayer will be given by Alderman Kinsey.
Good afternoon, everyone. Ms. Sampson, would you come up to the podium, please?
Praise the Lord, everybody. Praise the Lord. Heavenly Father, we bow before you in the precious name of Jesus. Heavenly Father, we thank you, Heavenly Father, for all of your loving kindness and your tender mercy. Heavenly Father, we come before you this evening begging for forgiveness if you have wounded our sisters or brothers. Heavenly Father, that's a special blessing, Heavenly Father, for the audit officers and members and friends for this great organization, Heavenly Father. Oh God, we thank you right now in the name of Jesus. Heavenly Father, be over here, Heavenly Father, touch each and every one of us, Heavenly Father. Lord, please create us clean hearts, Lord. Lord, please you do the right spirits within us, oh God. Heavenly Father, that's a special blessing for the nation this evening, Heavenly Father. Oh God, lead and direct down our pathway, Heavenly Father. Heavenly Father, as they go forth in your name, that do this business decent and in order. We thank you now in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost. Amen.
Amen. Would you join me in the pledge of allegiance to the flag of our country? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Madam Clerk, would you call the roll?
Alderman Bingle. Here. Alderwoman Harris.
Present.
Alderman Astor.
Here.
Mayor Outlaw.
Here.
Alderman Kinsey.
Here.
Alderman Best. Alderman Craven.
Here.
Okay, our first item is item number 3, consent agenda.
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion that we adopt the consent agenda as is.
Second.
Motion and second. Is there discussion?
Mayor, I'd like some clarification. I know we'll do it on the next time, but I'd like to be prepared at the next meeting to try to understand why we're going from industrial to residential when it's a park. So I would like that information clarified if we can for the next time. I don't understand.
For the next time, I got some clarification today.
You do? Okay, would you share that with us?
Sure. Industrial zones, parks are not permitted in industrial zones as they are zoned correctly, right, or as they are zoned right now. However, residential zones are. I did follow up with Mr. Ruggieri and his staff, and the residential zoning district that we are seeking at for that public hearing does allow for parks, as well as things such as golf courses and lots of different uses.
Recreational use.
Right, so recreational use type things. So at that point, we would still be able to pursue all of the recreational amenities and things that we want to do at that park with no.
So it wouldn't prohibit any of the phases such as the, with the amphitheater and selling items and potentially a cafe or anything like that?
Not that we were aware of.
I just didn't know if it needed to be more commercial. All right, thank you, Mayor.
Yes, ma'am. Any other discussion about that item? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same. The motion carries. Let's go to item number, item number 5. Mr. Stevens.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the board. Item number 5 is a discussion on dangerous animals. Chapter 6 of our Code of Ordinances addresses dangerous or potentially dangerous dogs. Section 6-14K of the code requires that a licensed veterinarian and an appeal board be appointed by the Board of Aldermen to make determinations as to dangerous animals. There has recently been an event that involved a potentially dangerous dog where another animal was killed as a result of the attack of that dog. However, our code requires for the board to appoint a person to be a licensed veterinarian to evaluate the potentially dangerous animal and make a determination as to what could potentially be the outcome of the attacking animal. So therefore, it's here tonight for you for discussion, and at some point or another, this board would need to take on the act of appointing that veterinarian.
Questions? So,
Question.
Go
ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
It's okay. So tonight, do we need to appoint a veterinarian, or is that down the road? Once we appoint him, we don't have to do it again? How long does that last? Same thing with this appeal board. How is that? Does each alderman appoint somebody?
Tonight would be great. The board appoints them. We need a vet immediately. They serve until they quit, or you appoint another one. Same with the appeal board.
So does it have to be in a resolution to appoint the
You can
vet?
no,
Okay,
by
and
motion.
This appeal board, I mean, how many members do we each appoint?
3 members, it's in the code, I assume that was not in your package, I'm guessing.
Yeah, it's not.
Okay. Yeah, there are 3 members, and they have specific qualifications. One, I believe, has to be a vet, and I don't recall the other 2.
So we would appoint a vet and then 2 members of this appeal board, or a vet and 3 members?
3 members. A vet, there's a primary vet who makes the primary decision. In the event the dog owner doesn't like that decision, they have a right to appeal to an appellate board of 3 members, a different vet along with 2 others that sit
Okay.
on that appeal
Just
board.
want to make sure I understand.
Yep.
I apologize.
Good questions.
Well, I just, go ahead, Alderman
No.
Kinsey.
Finish it for me.
I just wonder if we're duplicating things, could we not piggyback on what, I'm sure that Craven County Health Department has, or not Health Department, but of course under Sheriff Hughes, do they not obviously do the same?
I might agree with you, but for right now, this is our ordinance.
Okay.
That's my only concern. So is the veterinarian position paid?
No, ma'am.
Okay, so it's just a volunteer
Yes,
that
ma'am.
has to do this.
Well, kind of like time is of the essence on this thing. We've had a serious situation in the city. Yes, sir?
Mayor, I think the chief has had some discussions with a vet that has volunteered to serve. Is that correct?
Correct.
Maybe you could just update us on your conversation. We could move forward with the
Yes, I
appointment.
believe his name is Stelman. That's how you pronounce his name, Dr.
Stelman.
Steve Stelma.
Stelma, excuse me, Stelma. And he has agreed to serve if appointed.
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion. We appoint Dr. Stillman to serve in this veterinarian capacity.
Second.
Motion second. Is there discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, the same. Are there other appointments needed on this item?
The appeal board would be great, but maybe we can do that next meeting, just in case we need it.
Is there any preclusion to doing it at this meeting, other than we probably don't know who to put on it?
Yeah, I mean, that would be my concern. They have to live within the city. I mean, what are our boundaries? Do they have to be residents of the city? Can it be anybody?
It could be anybody. I know in the vet, the primary vet has to practice in Craven County. That's it. They don't have to live in Craven County, but they have to have a practice in Craven County.
So the appeal board also has to have a veterinarian, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Chief, do you have have you discussed it with any other veterinarians?
No, sir, I haven't, but we can direct us to.
Yeah, I think we need to put a call out, maybe via this meeting, anybody that's interested that would want to sit on there
Well,
and has a
I
background.
know Dr. Shelton has been helping the city attorney and I work on a ordinance for cats. So, and she's, I'll be glad to give her a call or send her an email, see if she'd be interested in something like that.
That'd be great. That'd be great.
Serving on
We could circulate the 3 requirements for that position, and maybe you can reach out, speak to some folks, and then get them appointed next meeting. And hopefully, in a perfect world, they'll never serve and never do anything. But if we need them, we have to have them very quickly.
Okay.
If you wouldn't, a veterinarian license to practice in the state is 1. Number 2, a professional dog obedience trainer with at least 5 years of teaching experience and/or membership in a nationally recognized dog training association. And then number 3, a registered veterinarian technician.
Maybe staff could circulate that information out to us this week, and we can work in the meantime to try to identify some folks before the next meeting.
We can do that.
Thank you.
Anything else on item 5? Let's go to item number 6, Mr. Stevens.
Thank you, Mayor. Item number 6 is consideration of the board to adopt a resolution approving an audit contract with Thompson, Price, Scott, and Adams for fiscal year ending June 30, 2019. As you recall, at our May 28, 2019 meeting, the board voted to enter into an audit contract with Thompson, Price, Scott, Adams, and Company, PA, for audit contract services for the fiscal year ending June 30, 2019. The fee to provide these services will be $34,500. The board is asked to consider adopting this resolution to approve the contract. There's a copy that's included in your packet along with the memo from Mr. Sabatelli. Happy to answer any questions.
Board have questions?
We need to make a motion?
Yes. If that's
Okay.
what we want want to do?
Mr. Mayor, then I'll make a motion that we adopt a resolution approving an audit contract with Thompson, Price, Scott, and Adams for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2019.
Second.
Motion by Alderman Astor, seconded by Alderman Kinsey. Is there further discussion? Seeing none, let's have a roll call, starting with Alderman Odom.
Alderman Odom.
Yes.
Alderman Kinsey.
Yes.
Mayor Outlaw.
Yes.
Alderman Astor.
Yes.
Alderwoman Harris.
Yes.
Alderman Bingle.
Yes.
Motion carries. Item number 7.
Thank you, Mayor. Item number 7 is consideration of the board to adopt a resolution approving a lease agreement with State Employees Credit Union for the ATM located in the parking lot at the corner of Pollock and Craven Streets. The State Employees Credit Union has requested renewal of the lease agreement for the ATM currently located in this parking lot at 302 Craven Street. The ATM provides needed service to those who live and work in the downtown area. The proposed lease term is for a period of 12 months beginning on the 1st of July 2019 at a rate of $225 per month. There's a memo that's included in your packet from Mr. Montaigne, and we'll be happy to answer any questions.
Does the board have questions?
Is this pretty much the going rate for that type of?
We reached out today to some folks who have some property that have ATMs on them. I think it was indicated, Mr. Childs, if I'm correct me if I'm wrong, about $450 was the number that he had at one location, but that price was because of the amount of volume of traffic and car count and everything else at that particular location. What he also understood is that some other locations that do not perform and have quite the same traffic counts are somewhat less, I guess, if you want to say that. Happy to entertain if the board has some opinions or some differences as to what they would like to see, and we can definitely pursue those.
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion that we adopt a resolution approving a lease agreement with State Employee Credit Union for ATM located in the parking lot at the corner of Pollock and Craven Street for a period of 12 months.
Second.
Okay, you have a motion and a second. Alderman Bingle, seconded by Alderman Harris. Is there further discussion? Seeing none, let's have a roll call, starting with Alderman Bingle.
Alderman Bingle.
Yes.
Alderwoman Harris.
Yes.
Alderman Astor.
Yes.
Mayor Outlaw.
Yes.
Alderman Kinsey.
Yes.
Alderman Odom.
Yes.
Motion carries. Item number 8.
Thank you, Mayor. Item number 8 is consider adopting a resolution approving a lease agreement with the Area Day Reporting Program for Youth on the property owned by the city located at 500 Fort Totten Drive. The Area Day Reporting Program for Youth, which is a nonprofit corporation, has requested renewal of the lease agreement for the property located at 500 Fort Totten Drive. The proposed lease term is for 12 months beginning July 1, 2019 at a rate of $1 per year. There's a memo that's included in your packet from Mr. Montaigne. We're happy to answer any kind of questions that you have.
Does the board have questions?
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to adopt a resolution approving a lease agreement with the Area Day Reporting Program for the youth for property located at 500 Fort Totten Drive.
Second.
Motion by Alderman Harris, seconded by Alderman Kinsey. Is there discussion? Seeing none, let's have a roll call, starting with Alderman Odom.
Alderman Odom.
Yes.
Alderman Kinsey.
Yes.
Mayor Outlaw.
Yes.
Alderman Astor.
Yes.
Alderwoman Harris.
Yes.
Alderman Bingle.
Yes.
Motion carries. Item number 9.
Thank you, Mayor. Item number 9 is consideration of the board to adopt a resolution approving a lease agreement with Habitat for Humanity of Greater New Bern, North Carolina for property located at 920 George Street. Habitat for Humanity of Greater New Bern, North Carolina has requested this renewal of the lease, and the proposed lease term is a period of 12 months beginning July 1, 2019 at a rate of $1 per year. There's a memo that's included in your packet along with other materials from Mr. Montaigne, and we'll be happy to answer any questions.
Board have questions?
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion that we adopt the resolution approving a lease agreement with Habitat for Humanity of Greater New Bern, North Carolina for the property located at 920 George Street for a period of 12 months.
Second.
Motion by Alderman Bingle, seconded by Alderman Harris. Is there further discussion? Seeing none, let's have a roll call, starting with Alderman Bingle.
Alderman Bingle.
Yes.
Alderwoman Harris.
Yes.
Alderman Astor.
Yes.
Mayor Outlaw.
Yes.
Alderman Kinsey.
Yes.
Alderman Odom.
Yes.
Motion carries. Item number 10.
Mayor, members of the board, item number 10 is consideration of the board adopting a resolution authorizing the City of New Bern Parks and Recreation Department to solicit fund donations for Kidsville 2.0. The Board of Aldermen has previously appropriated funds for the replacement of Kidsville. Plans to rebuild the playground have been obtained, and Parks and Recreation Department desires to solicit fund donations and sponsorship opportunities. A lot of that specifically through GoFundMe's or Facebook solicitations as well. This proposed resolution will authorize this solicitation and community involvement. And just so you know, I think this is something that LGC was kind of also looking at, that was kind of requesting or whatever to that regard. But JR, you may have some more information that you want to add to that.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Just for the board's awareness, we're looking into the solicitation through GoFundMe and those other sources, and through that information and talking with the city attorney, we determined it would be best for the board to approve a resolution of this nature to allow fully direct the Park and Rec director to solicit these funds. Just creates a little bit of more of a formal process. So.
Mr. City Attorney, can I ask a question? Would it be in our best interest, or can we have almost like a blanket resolution, so if we have other departments or anything that we were doing this, or do we have to individually do it for each?
Probably best to do it individually, because we just don't know how much money we're raising, what the project is, how long it might be, and the more we can make it specific, the safer the board is.
Okay.
Good question.
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion we adopt a resolution authorizing the City of New Bern Parks and Recreation Department to solicit fund donations for Kidsville 2.0.
Second.
Motion by Alderman Odom, seconded by Alderman Kinsey. Is there further discussion? Seeing none, let's have a roll call starting with Alderman Odom.
Alderman Odom.
Yes.
Alderman Kinsey.
Yes.
Mayor Outlaw.
Yes.
Alderman Astor.
Yes.
Alderwoman Harris.
Yes.
Alderman Bingle.
Yes.
Motion carries. Item number 11.
Thank you, Mayor. Item number 11 is a request to adopt an ordinance amending the schedule and fees of charges. On our May 28, 2019 meeting, the board adopted a fee schedule to be effective July 1, 2019. We had some inadvertent omissions that were from the Parks and Recreation fees that were left out of that schedule of fees and service, or fees and charges, and we wanted to get that in place prior to the beginning of the new fiscal year. This schedule has been amended. It's included in your packet. It also revised to expand the return check fee to include any type of return payment regardless of the method used to remit the payment, i.e. bank drafts, etc. Mr. Sabatelli can provide any kind of details that you have. Otherwise, the scheduled fee changes are included in your packet.
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to adopt the resolution amending the schedule of fees and charges.
Second.
Motion by Alderman Bingle, seconded by Alderman Harris. Is there further discussion? Seeing none, let's have a roll call starting with Alderman Bingle.
Alderman Bingle.
Yes.
Alderwoman Harris.
Yes.
Alderman Astor.
Yes.
Mayor Outlaw.
Yes.
Alderman Kinsey.
Yes.
Alderman Odom.
Yes.
Motion carries. Item number 12.
Mayor, item number 12 is consideration of the board to adopt an ordinance to amend Chapter 74 Utilities of the Code of Ordinances. At the retreat on January 26, 2019, the board voted to eliminate the stormwater fund and implement a revenue-neutral property tax rate for fiscal year 1920 to replace the stormwater fee revenue. Proposed ordinance will amend Chapter 74 by repealing the stormwater utility and fees. Mr. Sabatelli has included a memo in the packet and will answer any questions you may have.
Does the board have questions?
Is there anything else left that we have to do as far as moving that money, or that's what this is all about, right?
Yeah, and it really, I mean, if you're not going to have the stormwater utility anymore, there's no reason to really have that portion into your ordinance. So it's basically omitting that. I think as far as the financial stuff, that's just as soon as the July 1 kicks in, everything's been keyed in and it's included into the Public Works Department. So all of what was considered to be part of the stormwater utility and its own fund has now been transferred over financially into the.
Okay, so any monies that were left in there, it was okay to transfer them into the general fund, or no? How did you
I do
account
think
for
they
that?
still have to be, Mr. Sabatelli can provide some detail, but I think they do still have to be used for stormwater uses.
Yeah, yes, sir, that is correct. They still have to be used for stormwater activities, and given the fact that we have a substantial amount of money budgeted for stormwater activities for next fiscal year, including debt service, that will eat up those funds very quickly. The Next, there are a couple budget items. Item number 15 for the final year-end operating budget provides authorization to move the final remaining balance in the stormwater fund, any cash remaining in that fund as of June 30th over to the general fund, so that money can be utilized there starting next fiscal year.
Mayor, some more questions. I'd like to make a motion. We adopt an ordinance to amend Chapter 74 Utilities of the Code of Ordinances.
Second. Motion by Alderman Odom, seconded by Alderman Kinsey. Is there further discussion? Seeing none, let's have a roll call, starting with Alderman Odom.
Alderman Odom.
Yes.
Alderman Kinsey.
Yes.
Mayor Outlaw.
Yes.
Alderman Astor.
Yes.
Alderwoman Harris.
Yes.
Alderman Bingle.
Yes.
Motion carries. Item number 13.
Thank you, Mayor. Item number 13 is a request to consider adopting an ordinance to amend the Hurricane Florence Grant Project Fund. On October the 9th, 2018, a project fund was established for Hurricane Florence grants. The fund was amended on the 11th of December 2018 to increase the estimated revenues. It is again necessary for us to amend this fund to reflect additional estimated revenues that are needed to continue recovery efforts and account for staff efforts during the event. This amendment will increase the budget by $7 million. A memo from Mr. Sabatelli is included in your packet that kind of outlines what some of those expenditures will be.
Does the board have questions?
So this is us creating a fund to handle what we need to, and then when FEMA and insurance come through, we put it in there to swap out.
Yeah, and it's probably going to have to be amended several times over, until we finalize all of this process. So you're probably going to see amendments of this coming up in the near future as we indicated to y'all. This is probably a $14 to $16 million storm is what we're kind of looking at. So right now we're increasing it another $7 million. As we see these projects start to come through, it allows us that budget opportunity to put the money in the fund and then ultimately be reimbursed so that we account for it appropriately.
And there's no way to do like a blanket ordinance in regards to, so you don't have to keep bringing it back to us at.
It'd probably be more appropriate too for you
Each
as a
time.
board to approve those as they come along.
Sure, the auditors want to see that.
Yes.
So I got-
For efficiency, that would be great, but for auditing, it's probably appropriate for us to approve them as they come. So,
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion adopting an ordinance to amend the Hurricane Florence Grant Project Fund.
Second.
Motion by Alderman Harris, seconded by Alderman Astor. Is there further discussion? Seeing none, let's have a roll call, starting with Alderman Bingle.
Alderman Bingle.
Yes.
Alderwoman Harris.
Yes.
Alderman Astor.
Yes.
Mayor Outlaw.
Yes.
Alderman Kinsey.
Yes.
Alderman Odom.
Yes.
Item number 14.
thank you, Mayor. Item number 14 is a request to consider adopting an amendment to the FY 18-19 budget ordinance amendment dated April 23rd, 2019, and identified as ordinance number 19-011. On April the 23rd, 2019, a budget ordinance amendment was adopted to advance repayment of the installment purchase debt for Phase 1 of the ERP. It has also acknowledged grant funds from the Governor's Highway Safety Program and matching funds from the city for the purchase of traffic enforcement vehicle. That amendment contained a typographical error in Section 2, estimated revenues. The funds relating to the GHSP grant item were listed as Schedule E, Electric Fund, when they should have been listed as Schedule K, Grants Fund. So this attached amendment will correct this error, and there's a memo that's included from Mr. Sabatelli in your packet.
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion. We adopt an amendment to the FY 2018-19 budget ordinance amendment dated April 23rd, 2019, as identified as ordinance 19-011.
Second.
Is that you?
No.
Motion by Alderman Odom, seconded by Alderman Bingle. Is there further discussion? Seeing none, let's have a roll call, starting with Alderman Odom.
Alderman Odom.
Yes.
Alderman Kinsey.
Yes.
Mayor Outlaw.
Yes.
Alderman Astor.
Yes.
Alderwoman Harris.
Yes.
Alderman Bingle.
Yes.
Motion carries. Item number 15.
Thank you, Mayor, and this is kind of a long one, but hopefully this is our last one or for the business tonight. Item number 15 is consideration by the board to adopt a budget ordinance to amend the FY 2018-19 operating budget for the various funds. As we do each and every year at the end of the fiscal year, we have to close out a lot of things and do some budget ordinances to amend to make sure that everything is appropriately accounted for. In the general fund, these amendments will be made to redistribute funds within the divisions of Public Works, acknowledge the transfer required to close the stormwater fund, and increase estimated revenues for the pilot payment in lieu of taxes, transfers from the utility funds. In the electric, water, and sewer funds, those will be amended to meet the actual pilot that was due. Further, the electric fund is amended to redistribute funds within the various divisions, increase power supply costs, and establish a transfer from the rate stabilization fund. The water and sewer funds are also amended to allocate the estimated system development fees that we saw throughout the year to the respective capital reserve funds, and the capital reserve funds are adjusted to recognize these increases. And finally, the last couple, the Employees Benefit Insurance Fund is amended to cover additional costs for health and workers' compensation claims that we had throughout the year. The Grants Fund is amended to provide for rollovers from fiscal year 17-18, and the new Bulletproof Vest Grant for $5,770. So there's a memo and all of the attached documentation within your packet that Mr. Salatelli laid out all of this, so we'll be happy to answer any questions that you have.
Call this housekeeping 101.
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion adopting a budget ordinance to amend the FY 18-19 operating budget for various funds.
Second.
Motion by Alderman Harris, seconded by Alderman Kinsey. Is there further discussion? Seeing none, let's have a roll call, starting with Alderman Bingle.
Alderman Beagle,
Yes.
Alderwoman Harris,
Yes.
Alderman Astor,
Yes.
Mayor Outlaw,
Yes.
Alderman Kinsey,
Yes.
Alderman Odom.
Yes.
Okay, at this time, going to appointments. I'd like to appoint Tripp Ewer to the HPC Board.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Well, we'll start with Alderman Bingle.
I'd like to reappoint Kip Aragoy to the Board of Adjustment. He can serve another term, so I'd like to reappoint him.
It says he is eligible.
Yeah.
Okay, second.
Motion and second. Is there discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, the same. Any others tonight?
No, sir.
Alderman Harris.
No, I was just pointing out, I was gonna mention that we have about 5 seats for the Board of Adjustment
Yes.
come and due at the same time, so we really need to put a call out there for anyone that is interested for Board of Adjustments to send in a resume so that we can appoint you. And then also for my Planning and Zoning Board, if anyone's interested and you live in the city of New Bern, please get in contact with us so that I may appoint you to this board.
Okay, Alderman Astor.
Yes, I have an appointment for the Civil Service Board, and I would like to appoint Eric Queen to replace John Skinner.
We have a
I'll
second.
second that.
We have a motion and a second. Is there discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, the same. Do you have others?
Not for tonight, no.
Alderman Kinsey.
Not tonight, sir.
And Alderman Odom.
Yes, sir, I'd like to reappoint Mr. John Riggs to the Board of Adjustment.
Second.
Motion and second. Is there discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, the same. Any others tonight?
No, sir.
Attorney's report,
Nothing important, Mayor.
city manager's report.
I have nothing to really report. I do have one request. Foster Hughes had received a phone call from the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs regarding their request for the city to provide them a shuttle from Ruth's Chapel to the National Cemetery on Tuesday, July the 2nd from 10 a.m. to 12:30. As y'all probably have been made aware, the shuttle will be used for those attending the funeral of Corporal Stephen Peter Nemick, who was a MIA KIA for the Korean War. He was a member of the 1st Cavalry Division, was killed in action while fighting in North Korea back in 1950. His remains were reported accounted for on the 13th of July 2018, and they're scheduling his burial at the National Cemetery after the service of Totten Funeral Home. Obviously, typically these would be services in which since they're not city-sponsored events, they would be charged for, but I thought I'd bring this to your attention tonight as they've requested for us to be able to utilize the property, the buses to transport people back and forth for this particular event. So I wanted to kind of get some direction from the board on this matter.
Is this the route we're seeing? Oh, I was looking at the picture. I thought you were showing us the route to where we were going. Okay.
It's not, you obviously not create a burden for summer camps or anything like that.
Not that I'm aware of, Mr.
Then
Reeser.
I certainly would think
Yeah,
we should do what we have to do
Yes, totally.
to support the Corps.
Thank you very much. We'll make sure that we make that happen, and we'll make the parties aware that we'd be willing to help.
Are we putting that announcement out there, Colleen, to make sure people, citizens that want, I know they put it out there, they could go to the funeral home as well as just line the streets with American flag, holding a flag and just kind of,
They sent us all of the instructions today, so we'll put that together and put something out.
Okay, perfect.
Anything else?
No, sir, that's it from me.
What are we doing in Raleigh tomorrow?
Tomorrow in Raleigh, the mayor and I will be with many other mayors and executive staff members of municipalities throughout the state of North Carolina to discuss the legislative action items that the Metro Mayors Coalition will be taking up that we wish to ask our legislators to try to look at the upcoming well, I guess they're about to finish now, but obviously work continues to go on even whenever the legislature is not in session. So some of our legislative agenda items will be discussed. Also, one of the major items, which is affordable housing, is one of the items that will be of something that we plan to discuss. As y'all will recall, I think Mr. Riccieri, he attended a special, I guess, meeting of the Metro mayors with high-level staff members of the municipalities who have a lot of background in affordable housing to develop some key points for the mayors to discuss at this meeting. I know the mayor has lunch with the governor at his mansion, and along with the other mayors throughout the city or throughout the state of North Carolina. So it will be a busy day for us in Raleigh tomorrow. If y'all need to reach me, I may be out of pocket for a little bit as we're having some of these meetings, but I'll try to answer those as much as I can.
Anything else?
That'll be it, sir.
Okay. I'm going to go to new business at this time. And Ms. Roberts, if you can you share those photographs? This, as you well know, 3rd Avenue, pretty good looking sidewalk there, and you can go to the next one. I'm just really proud of where we are with a lot of our sidewalks and the expansion within the city. You go to the next one. Now, this is just not acceptable. We're getting fixing to open up workforce development, and this is in a pretty heavily traveled area. And the reason I'm putting these up here is I have several groups that like to volunteer and pretty much go around New Bern and trim sidewalks. I mean, obviously we would we would love to partner with the public and with property owners and tenants and everybody else. A lot of folks have the equipment and they like to keep their sidewalks to a certain level of maintenance, and we really appreciate that partnership. Other areas just that they're not. You stop right there and go back to that sidewalk. Well, that's going to be a separate thing. But if we got the money to budget to put in these sidewalks, I just think we need to stop, catch our breath, and fix what we've got before we put any more in. I certainly don't want to put any more sidewalks in if they're going to wind up like this. And this is you guys. Everybody just close your eyes, man, and think about it. Oh yeah, this is kind of like on North Pasteur Street. This is like some of Spencer Avenue. This is just all around New Bern. I would like the board to think about giving the manager direction to go out and go get a subcontractor to help catch these sidewalks up. If we can ever get them back like some of the first pictures, then we can get these volunteer groups to come in and help maintain them.
So I hear you. I agree with you, but let me ask the question. So leave that picture up there, Colleen, the one right there. So to the right, that's obviously, is that city property to the right, or is it a private property to the right?
Pretty much any sidewalk should be on public right of way.
I'm not talking about, but I'm talking about so how much You know, usually private property owners will mow the grass, mow an edge. If they're not able, if they're a senior, if they're disabled or sick, certainly, you know, there's lots of churches and people we can come together to do that. Now, you know, typically the other side is usually the homeowners. If you go through a lot of our neighborhoods, Ghent, Historic District, even I've been through Duffyfield, and people who take care of their properties will go, you know, in the area that may not be their right of way. Typically, the city typically owns what's to the street and take care of that. I'd like to see that public-private partnership, but let's get some of the churches and the Boy Scouts who need to have these projects, and you're right, and get them out to do this, because it's an edging issue. The sidewalks are there, and we have to repair them. That's the other thing.
I think once we got them trimmed back up like they should be, I think you're gonna find
People that will
some
keep up
issues that need to be corrected, some defects and things, but,
there. Okay, that's fair enough.
you know, I just think we're, as a city, a little bit overwhelmed with some of this right now, and I think we should stop, and if there's not enough manpower within the public works department or whatever, Parks and Recs, go sub out and get this stuff called up, and then let's work. You know, we have volunteers that go out and clean up streets and things that we can obviously do a better job than we're all doing on this. I don't think this is what anybody here tonight wants to see in New Bern. So, you know, you don't have to take action on it. You can, but all of you are aware of this, and this just is not acceptable.
My comment would be, if right now, due to the overwhelming of what we got going on, if we're incapable of handling it and we need a subcontract, I support it as long as it stays local.
And Mr. Davis, would you kind of update the board? I don't have a percentage on it, but I would think 90% of these sidewalks are on public right-of-way.
Yes, sir. I would expect it's a very high percentage.
And the little strip between the sidewalk and the road obviously is on public
Yes, sir.
right-of-way.
Yes, sir.
Mayor, are you suggesting that we give staff direction to put a RFQ out to come back to us with what they've identified? Is that?
I don't think you could put an RFQ out on it there. It's unless somebody did a comprehensive inventory of these areas in New Bern. I mean, it's quite a bit. It'd be kind of hard to inventory the footage or anything else as to how. I mean, I just think it's just like when we first started stormwater. You know, we had a yeoman's job of trying to correct a lot of those issues, and I think it was so overwhelming that we zoned it. And this is not necessarily that situation, but I think I'd get somebody on a per hour, hourly basis or whatever to go out here for a couple of weeks and get some of this stuff called up and see where we are and regroup.
Which department handles that now?
I
Is
was
it
gonna say-
recreation or public works?
Be public works. For
Public
the
works.
most part, I think there's some areas that Foster may mow that are parks and recreation responsibilities, but the majority of the stuff on the sidewalk as far as repairs. and
Can't we
everything
get a
else,
couple of college kids or something like that
Summer jobs.
to help them with some summer
we look at
jobs?
some options.
Or if we're still doing ditching, are we not able to have a tent service for tent city employees come in until we're done? Especially for public works, for some fact that we're still dealing with ditches. I'm meeting with Matt on Friday for about 20 ditches in my ward, it seems like. So if we're kind of still overwhelmed, why can't we as a board discuss some sort of temporary hiring that's going to give people jobs to be able to do this, and it's temporary so they know it's not going to be long term.
We would, I mean, if you want us to try to put a number on it, we can try to do that. If you want to give us a budgetary number to work with to try to get as much as we can done within that budgetary number, we can definitely do that. I need a direction from that. Otherwise, we're going to have to utilize existing staff because, you know, when we budget for things, we budget for it to be done. Staff, you know, right now, we've been trying to allocate as much as we can towards these storm drains and stormwater ditches and everything else so that we can improve, because we heard very loud and clearly that you wanted us to do that. I think Mr. Childs and Mr. Montaigne have made some significant headway on that. We're currently working with our consultants about trying to get some major funding so that we can dredge out some of the larger blue line streams and other items as long as it gets approved through all the different regulatory processes. So, obviously, it's just it's a matter of either staff or money to be able to do the work, and we can do whatever the board wishes for us to do.
Wouldn't it be easier for us or cheaper for us to hire a few part-time or temporary, I reckon, summer college kids to work directly either with Foster or with Matt to, be assigned to do this?
I certainly think we could do that.
I mean, it would be cheaper than trying to hire a contractor, wouldn't you think?
Yeah.
Probably so.
It needs to be done professionally and indemnifying the city and making sure that workman's comp and all those other things needs to be done professionally. This is wounded dog howls the loudest. Some of these sidewalks, when you go around town, are much older than these and don't look like this, and then these do look like this. And I personally do not understand the difference in the maintenance around the city of what is maintained and what is not. I don't get it at all. This one is not too far from the police station. The police station is to the far end to the right, and I don't get it. We want our citizens out walking. We certainly, with the new workforce development, we really want folks walking that if they don't have transportation to get up and get a certification, something, help get a good job, and this is just not part of that. I would appropriate $10,000 and see where it goes, and the manager report back to us. Go out and get somebody with workman's comp, general liability. We go out and get volunteers on this level of maintenance here, and somebody gets hurt, and this is not something I want to send the volunteers out on. We send volunteers out once we can put them in.
I wasn't saying volunteers, I'm saying temporary work. And temporary work, that means the temp agency is responsible for everything else. They're just going to work for us.
That's great. I'm sure 2 or 3 of them we can employ. So does the board want to take any action on that, or?
We need a motion. I agree with the 10,000. That's the number I had in my head anyways.
Do we have a second to the motion?
Second.
Is there a discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Go back to those next photographs. Maybe I should do this under new business, but the Saturday, I believe it was, I went to Habitat for Humanity, the 30th anniversary at the Visitor Center. It's really a great celebration of all the things going on, and networking as we do, how can we get more homes built? We do have legal reasons why we can't do anything, but while we're trying to encourage home ownership and folks to build on vacant lots in New Bern, this right here, my friends, is owned by the Board of Aldermen and the City of New Bern. This is the McCotter House. And again, I absolutely do not understand. This is a city-owned property. The police department used to be in it. It's, at some point, I don't know what we're going to do with it, but it sure does send the wrong message when we're out trying to get people to invest in the Duffyfield and other areas when that's the way we keep our properties up. I just wanted to see if the board had any interest in doing something about that.
Who's in it now?
Nobody had said
No one is speaking. So do we need to have Public Works go ahead and ride around and do an inventory on our properties and what needs to be done before we actually give a number to 10,000? Because it sounds like we need to go ahead and inventory our properties and our streets on what we need to do and then give a number.
That's city property. I mean, city staff should be keeping that clean.
Right, but if they're allocated to the stormwater and the damage due to hurricane and hurricane season is upon us, you want to make sure that your ditches are cleaned. I would put that as priority due to what we've been through. That's why hiring temporary staff, but you want to know a number amount. We need to go ahead and inventory our own property on what needs to be done. Try to put a number to it.
Those other photographs not very good. I think there's a couple more of that. No, I took them out. But that's the better side. The front side, you really actually can't even see the
So
house.
what if, I understand, but how long has that property been vacant?
Years.
Why don't we do something with it? Why don't we?
There's actually someone that's interested in doing something with it.
If it stays like that long,
It's not going to be worth the hoop.
Yeah, redevelopment commission is looking at it.
Yep.
Okay.
And some of the issues have always been and still exist with the McCotter home. It seems to me that everybody that wants to use it in a commercial capacity, and the commercial capacity oftentimes does not, the parking requirements cannot be met on that particular lot. That's been my historical, the way it works. I think, Mr. Kinsey, you even had one that you had approached us back several years ago about the potential for them to use and investigated about the potential use of that, and because of the use that they wanted to use it, they could not meet the parking requirements because they did not have the parking adjacent to or on the property.
Well, Mr. Stevens, how did the City of Newbern Police Department, with cars parked on that vacant lot on the corner, which we don't own, how did they operate out of that with no parking?
That's
And
a
now
great
all of a
question,
sudden,
Mayor. I wasn't city manager at that time.
Yeah.
and I don't know how they
I
did
agree
it.
with the mayor. I think that's a minute point to solve. You know, the use of the building would be better, but, you know, Mayor, in cases like this, you know, I think it's a call to our city public works or, you know, being brought to our attention. I don't like having this thrown in my face right now. I mean, we do need to work on these things. It'd be good if we could sit down and understand. I mean, our redevelopment commission is working really hard. This is a group of wonderful people who meet twice a month, and they're trying to put this plan together to do things. And you're right, we need to clean up, but it could be that is a demolition site. I don't know. They're working on it. Mr. Jerry is doing a good job in leading them and trying to get them together, but this is a public works call or something. And, you know, many cases I see issues like this, and it's a call to the public works or an email to the manager and copying public works to say, you know, this needs to be cut down. Emails to Foster all the time. This island needs to be cut or cleaned up.
This will be addressed in the morning.
You know, I think it's just a phone call.
I think he was just trying to put out there the fact that we need to make sure we keep our city beautiful, and as city individuals, it's our responsibility to make sure that it's done. But we do appreciate the citizens that may reach out and point things out because we do miss things. My only concern is I don't want public works, they're already overwhelmed, so it sounds like the most reasonable thing to do is we may need to hire some temporary staff to be able to assist with these projects, and then they're not on our payroll at the end of the year. They're temporary for a temporary service.
Thank you, Mark, for
Alderman
handling
Bingle, the reason I brought this up tonight is this is not the first time I've talked about some of these issues. And, you know, you reach a point where, you know, you have to make something happen, and I'm trying to make something happen, and that's why I'm doing this tonight. And I appreciate the support of the board if the board wants to move our city forward, but I would personally not invest if I was somebody like even Habitat, building a nice home and having that next door in that condition. And so I'm just trying to move the city forward. Is the only thing I can say. I appreciate your concerns about
well, I would like to
our
see
methodology.
I would like to see you come before the redevelopment commission and maybe make this presentation, because again, these are the people who are vesting themselves in trying to redevelop this very area and make it better than it's ever been. And some of them live there and have a vested interest, so I think it's good for all of us to share in it so we can all work together to make it be what it needs to be.
Fair enough. Let's go to new business with Alderman Bingle.
Okay, so a couple of things I've been working on, and I just want to mention to the board that at the last meeting, we had voted to demolish a home. I was going to say, I see Mr. Brown here. I can't remember the address. It was First Street, but no, it was First Avenue. And we did vote to demolish it. And I heard from Mr. Brown. I talked to Habitat for Humanity, and we have Habitat has gotten involved, and they are reaching out to the owner and has talked to the owner, and he's considering donating that property to Habitat, and then Habitat would be willing to rehab the house. So we've kind of stayed that, you know, Public Works wasn't ready anyway to take it down. They still had some more things to do. So I did want to let this board know that if Habitat, we talked about Habitat getting involved, if they could take ownership, they will. So they have reached out. They found the property owner. They're speaking to it. I know Mr. Brown has the number. I don't know if he's spoken to him as well, but we are trying to do something to see if we could save that house in that neighborhood rather than tear it down. And I really want to thank Mike Williams for his diligence in trying to make something like this happen. And as we go down the road, if there's something that's kind of on the, really probably could be rehabbed, it's just we can't get property owners or anything, we need to continue to talk to Habitat, because if the property owner will give it to Habitat, they will fix it.
Well, in the documentation, it was stated that they reached out to Habitat and they were interested in it.
Well, it was misinformation.
Well,
The information that we had, and I don't know if we understood clearly what Mr. Ruggieri is saying, there was contact made with Habitat about the city of New Bern working with Habitat to rehab properties that the city would own, not necessarily that Habitat would own. So I think that was the difference. But the problem is they're not going to rehab something that we own.
Right, correct.
They only want to rehab things that they have potential ownership. That's why Mike Williams is talking to the property owner, because he would have more value in donating it to Habitat and getting the write-off than he would to have a lien on his property and have a $2,000 lot plus $10,000 in liens.
Now, is that something that we can put in the process moving forward, where we make contact with the
I had a question for the attorney. It was my understanding, we don't own that property, right? We were demolishing it because of neglect, which then we would put a lien on the property, which then we would acquire the property.
Right.
So I'm not sure how we could have partnered with Habitat as the city being the conduit, other than maybe
Well, we
just...
could partner with them for them to contact the property owner, put an
Right.
additional step in for them to contact the property owner to see if they would.
Yeah, I can tell you, my office does. When we get a file, we speak to the owners and we strongly encourage them to donate the property to a nonprofit, to anyone, even the city as a very last resort, because the worst thing we can do is spend the money and tear it down, correct?
So anyway, we're
I
following
think it's
steps.
great if we can save it.
Yeah.
What I just don't want us to get to a point where we made a decision 2 meetings ago and then 6 months down the road, nothing's happened. And
Yeah, we asked for a 2-week stay, so, if he doesn't find out anything any day now, then, we're gonna move forward, but at least we gave it our valiant
Sure.
effort. The citizens stepped up and asked for it. We went to Mike Williams and he was willing to assist us, so I think that's a good thing. I also wanna, update the board that Alderman Odom and I have met and discussed the election process, and we're going to be moving forward in processing for November election in 21, our regular 4-year term, and then having it be the new board that would be elected to a 5-year term, and that would get us to the even year, which would be 2026.
Yes.
2026, and then it would be every 4 years after. The steps we have to take is we have to go pretty much through the process again. It would come up before the board, we would vote, and then it would have to go to the state. That change would have to go to the General Assembly. So that probably won't happen until January, probably. Is that correct, Mr. Attorney?
Yes, ma'am.
So I just want
2026 is a non-presidential
correct. Midterm.
midterm.
And that would be the same, that we would be the same year as the county commissioners being elected. Trent Woods.
Are we still going to be nonpartisan?
Yes. Trent Woods has already sent their bill off. They're going to go to the even year starting in 20, but they are elected every 2 years. And Riverbend is kind of considering the same thing, so maybe we'd all be together, and there will definitely be a large savings. So thank you, Alderman Odom, for working with me. We'll put it back before the board for discussion and a vote. But I want people to know that you can do good governance when 2 people disagree.
And we can still disagree on it, but we
Yes,
come
that's
to a
correct. We
resolution,
still can
so.
disagree, but at least we have something that we can put on the table. So don't laugh, Mayor.
So November election,
Everything's
one
good.
of the wins.
Yes, ma'am.
What else you got?
There's a lot going on in the first ward, and I just want people to know that I've been contacted by the people downtown about the traffic on East Front Street, and we had a meeting yesterday about calming traffic and different things that we need to be doing in our city. We met with the police chief and Captain Fuller and Sergeant McGinnis, and it was a really good first meeting. And now Chief, I need you to add to your list, we need to meet about Cedar and West Street. You know, we had a tragedy at that intersection, and I know we've had insurance people looking at that, whatever, but the residents in that area are continuing to see people going through stop signs, speeding, and very concerned that somebody else is going to be killed. There's going to be other accidents, so that's the next one. So I'll be calling you to set up a meeting with the neighbors there. It may be that we need a 4-way stop sign there. Some of the people are parking in areas where you can't see to the block. So we definitely want to take that on and try to make that intersection a safer place. We've been working in Ghent. Alderman Astor and myself attended a Ghent Neighborhood Association meeting last week, and we heard loud and clear from the citizens about their traffic concerns, and especially with the road diet happening. They had a, 45-minute backup of traffic down one street, people trying to cut through in Ghent. So we have temporarily done one-ways on 2nd and Rem in that area there to try to calm that traffic. And I appreciate the Ghent group having Alderman Astor and myself, police department. Mr. Childs was there as well. Let's see. Goodness gracious. Mr. City Manager, I want to continue to ask you, and I did make the phone call today to General Overholt, but I've had a lot of calls about the bridge. You know, a year ago we voted to have the bridge close on a schedule rather than open and close on demand. It was a year ago.
Oh my goodness.
A year ago. And of course that sent up through the train, through DOT, and they say that Coast Guard never responded, but we're going to have to put some heat on them, because if you look, that bridge is opening up. It seems like every 20 minutes everybody's complaining about it. So I've received calls on that, and we need to follow up. Maybe when you're in Raleigh with the governor
there's
tomorrow,
actually
see if we get
a hashtag
some
on
help.
Facebook.
Yeah. And I'm getting
crazy.
complaints about it.
Yeah, all the time.
And I receive those complaints as well,
I know.
and my staff have been very diligent about following up with that, and it's you know, at this point it's becoming a little bit absurd how many times that we have to follow up, but there's no continued discussion or comments or whatever, but we'll continue to do so.
But we should get an answer. If
Yeah,
they're
well.
not going to do it, they should at least answer us.
Who you gonna be with tomorrow?
Oh, yeah. Get with
I won't be
Governor
with the kind of crowd that the mayor will, I'll tell you that.
Who you gonna be with tomorrow?
Yeah,
Hey,
Mayor,
goodness,
ask the
Mayor.
governor to take care of this.
That's right.
Put some pressure on
Put
somebody.
heat on him. Governor Cooper.
That's- and once again, this is the U.S. Coast Guard, so I mean, you're talking about, I mean, it's in their hands, and what my understanding is that the Coast Guard has asked DOT to do a vessel, it's like a vessel survey, which I kind of question why they have to have the vessel survey when they document a log of every single time they have to open and close that bridge, and what, you know, vessels are coming through, and whether they're recreational or whether they're commercial. But anyways, I guess they have their place in the reason. Maybe they're thinking that we're going to have another Hatteras yachts up the Trent River. I don't know, but I mean, I really don't understand it whenever we have the log that's there that tells them exactly what's going on, and all we're asking for essentially an adjustment of time is during those peak travel hours of the 7:30 to 8:30 window, and I think more of the 4:30 to 6 o'clock windows in the commute times, when it's completely backing up and jarring, you know, jamming up our entire downtown with traffic. That's some of the major concerns that I'm hearing from the citizens.
Right. Next is, we talked about dangerous dogs, and we talked about Sheriff Chip Hughes today. And so if the board would like, I would suggest that the city manager start a conversation with Sheriff Hughes and the county manager to discuss merging or working together with our animal control. As of July 1st, Sheriff Hughes is going to take over animal control for the county. He'll have an extended staff. I don't know, there may be ways to just maybe partner together. I'm not saying we're going to do this, but I know that Mr. Stevens would like some direction as if this is something the board would like for him to just investigate at this point. is there a way for us to work together? Anybody have any thoughts?
Okay, so we discussed this a little bit.
Right.
So what would you like to see?
Well, it would just be a meeting with the county manager and the city manager and Mr. Hughes and potentially the police chief, and just talk a little bit about however you want to set it up, but just to start talking about, is there any way we can work together? Because I know, again, we only have 1.5 people, and I don't think it's enough for New Bern. How do we really make it work? Sometimes on nights, weekends, we don't have the coverage we need. We've got shortage of police department, whatever it is. So, I mean, we may find out it doesn't work and it's not worth the time and effort, but I would like for our city manager to at least sit down and have the conversation.
Sounds great to me. So how's the board feel about that?
Sounds good to me.
It's a start.
Okay.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, one last thing. So I want to, a couple of thank yous. First of all, to our staff. You know, we've got an amazing public works staff. We have an amazing Parks and Recreation. I mean, everybody. It's just so good in this city. You call them up, and they're there, and they're helping us. But there's so much going on in our city right now. So much. We're still dealing with the storm. We're dealing with issues that have been neglected for 40 years or more, and on top of everything else. So I just want to thank all of them that try to work with us. Citizens that are watching, we do try. We're talking to our staff members. They're only human. They only have so many people in their staff, and they do a really, really great job once you get to know them. And then I want to thank the Chamber of Commerce for doing an incredible job this weekend in downtown New Bern. Great concert Friday night, and then the raft race. What a great event for our community. It was a beautiful weekend. They had all kinds of fun things for the kids. I mean, if your kid didn't get in those bubbles, let me tell you something, that was a big deal down there. And food, and just lots of people with their lawn chairs. And the posts that I saw all over the place is how much people love New Bern, and what a great weekend it was. So thank you to the Chamber of Commerce and our Parks and Rec Department for assisting them with what they're doing. And shout out to Duff Fest. I mean, everything happened this weekend. Duff Fest was going on, Great Trent River Raft Race. We had the Habitat for Humanity, and I had 3 grandchildren, and I was exhausted. So it was a busy weekend, and I'm done now, man.
And who won the raft race?
The fire department,
Yeah.
Chief Boyd, way to go. You guys did a great job. They won the race. Kudos to them. Oh, I'm done. Sorry, Mayor. I just
Oh,
have
no
to run
problem,
through this.
no problem. Alderman Harris.
Mine is, I just want to shout out to Lena Massey and Sharon Bryant for a wonderful Juneteenth celebration week. I'm proud of our city and how diverse it was, and everybody came together on the whole week and showed out, and we hope to make it bigger next year. So I just thought that was great.
Yeah, Auditor too.
Oh yeah,
that was a wonderful event.
And I didn't even get a chance to make it. So our emergency game.
It was a great event.
But I'm proud of the African American Heritage and Culture Center. We came out. I heard it was an amazing event. So I'm just really proud of our citizens that really come together and do things for the community. So that was amazing, and that's all I got.
Okay, Alderman Astor.
Yes. I too would like to thank the residents of the Ghent neighborhood for inviting us to the homeowner association meeting the other night. I learned a lot. One of the things that I would like to ask the city manager to do, would you please look at the site drawing of the Volt Center, see if there's any way possible that the exits that are on Rim Street from out of there could be maybe left turns only to get them away from driving through the neighborhood. I'm not sure if it's, there appears to be 3 entrances.
I got the drawing today. I'll share.
Yeah, I got the drawing also. That's why I was looking at it. So we usually look at that and see if that's possible that we could do something like that.
I have a lot of concerns in that neighborhood.
And
Is there a heavily amount of children? I mean, because it's a Volt Center and they're going to be coming in and out. And I mean, maybe we
Well,
should
it's not
thought
gonna be
about
as-
the implications for the community before.
it's not going to be as convenient for them to go through Second Street, or is that what it is, Second
Grand
Street?
yeah.
Second Street anymore because of the detours that we've put up there and closing off the street. But If we could keep them from coming out of there and move them over to First Street, thank you, then it would be a lot better for the residents.
This probably isn't the popular statement, but I just feel eventually can we like meet in the middle? Because it's people that utilize that street that don't necessarily live in that neighborhood. I know that the Woods have came here and spoke up, and citizens speak up that it's been that way for a long time, and for it to just be changed due to this area, we need to meet in the middle, because one, that's the Volt Center, it's like the college. You know, you can only go one way. Traffic's gonna, you know, get all backed up. So I feel like we need to compromise with the residential area and the fact that the Volt Center was there, it was voted on, and all these traffic, you know, they're streets. We have a right to ride on them. I mean, obviously you can have speed limits, but I mean,
Well,
people that may not live on the street still have a right to ride down the street.
If you looked at the video and the still pictures that we saw at that meeting the other day of a stream of cars on a very narrow residential street that were, 20 deep, 30 deep, something like that, waiting to get out on a Pollock, would it be Pollock Street? Waiting to get out on Pollock Street or Trent Road, whichever it is. I mean, it was, I wouldn't want that in my front yard. So, I mean, I understand.
I get it. I understand. As I said, they probably gonna be mad at me. I'm just saying we have to meet in the middle, because this is something that's been going on for a long time, and for it just to change, we need to take some gradual steps.
They're certainly happy over there now
it's
because
not
we put
just-
some temporary.
Right, they're happy, but what about the rest of the citizens that live in the city of New Bern? I'm not privy to these meetings. I'm just voicing my opinion, because people have come to me with complaints that we're only doing certain things. Well, I say we because we're a board. We're only doing certain things for one neighborhood, but it affects the whole city of New Bern because everybody uses that area. We should have made it a dead end if they didn't want people coming through.
Anyway, would you look at that for me, please, and see if that can be done? Thank you. That's all I have.
Before you do it, can you bring it to the board? Because I'm interested as well.
Okay, Alderman Kinsey.
Yes, I was appointed to the COG board, and we met last week, and they have a new director, and the new director want to look for meeting with the city manager and maybe the lady who Sabrina first forward, and the mayor and myself, and talk about some things that we can partner up in the city, because we have a membership with them, and they're doing a lot of great things with this new director. And from the things that she shared with us in the meeting, her vision, I was pretty impressed with that. And we are already at some degree working with one of the programs that they're doing out through the community with some hurricane money. We've taken on, I think it was, how many, Mark, was it 4 or 6 individuals that we received from the group from Green Lamp out of Kinsey, that is under this pilot program that they are working with. They give us the individuals to work, and they do all the paying. We just instruct them to do the things that we need to work for us manpower-wise. And they have a few other things that I think that we'll be interested in becoming a part of. It's just setting up a time that we all can meet collectively and put things together and see what can we do.
Well, let's do it.
Yeah, just get my schedule. Happy to meet. I've met Katie before and had a chance to talk to her. She was the former town manager of Maxton, North Carolina. So she does have town manager experience. Google her.
So
Find out.
I'm looking to see what she can bring to us. And that's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
So, okay. Alderman Odom.
Yes, sir, Mayor. I debated on saying something. I'm not going to call any names, but for those that ran in the special election for the 3rd district, and you're not in a runoff, or you're not on the ballot in November or September, whenever it is, please pick up your signs. It's unbelievable the amount of signs I've seen. I've actually seen, probably not new signs, but signs for candidates that did not win all of a sudden pop up in different parts of the city. I saw 3 this week. Don't understand what the purpose behind that is, but we're fairly lenient from a staff perspective on enforcing the sign ordinance, and we just ask you to please pick them up. I mean, it's been weeks now, and we still see signs. Last comment I'll make is, I'm not going to beat a dead horse about the closing of the Second Street, but Mayor asked me to attend a meeting last week at the Volt Center. For those that have not had the opportunity to see inside the Volt Center, I definitely encourage you to do so. It's been a phenomenal transformation. Hopefully, when we get to a point we're able to have a ribbon cutting or a walkthrough or a tour of something, I think it'd be beneficial. I made this suggestion to Mr. Ruggieri that day to invite the Ghent neighborhood to do a open house there and also share with them some of the traffic counts on what we used to have at that facility versus what the projected traffic counts are going to be now, because from a city garage, warehouse, fueling station, there was quite a bit of traffic there. And I think what we're doing is we're looking at what's happening with traffic now while First Avenue is under construction, and it's probably not giving us a good picture of what it's going to be. So I made that suggestion to him to do that, obviously include you all. It was just a suggestion I made, so I want to share that with you. I think it would be beneficial for
That's why
everybody.
this is temporary. What we've done now is temporary because there is so much traffic. It's trying to get it to not
Sure.
go that way. Yeah, love to have a tour of the facility and get in there.
That's all, Mayor. Thank you.
I'd like to share this here. Early on, when the road diet started out, we was given information that if this don't work, we can take it back to where it once was. So we have a lot to learn from this experience right now to see what's actually is going to happen, and hopefully it's going to turn out well. But if it doesn't work out, we can redo the whole thing all over at a cheaper price. So that's what we was told by DOT. So we just have to be a little patient right now and let things work it out. That's it, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Any other new business this time? Do we need a closed session tonight?
Yes, sir.
Anything else to come before the Board of Aldermen at this time?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion second. All in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. All
Did
opposed,
we
the
break
same.
a record today?
Building is